Hey now. What the fuck? Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
In The Wire, Omar Little operates as both an outlaw and a moral enigma. He's a stick up man who robs drug dealers, not civilians. Now, his reputation makes him a kind of urban folk hero, feared yet respected. Now, in this episode, Omar ambushes Stinkum, a Barksdale soldier, killing him and wounds Weebay Bryce, another top enforcer in the organization. This is in retaliation for the killing of Omar's lover, Brandon. Now, after his attack, Omar delivers the famous line, "You come at the king, you best not miss." Now, at this point, Omar isn't just making a boast, he's making a pronouncement of the rules of power, survival, and respect in Baltimore street chessboard. Now, Omar's statement is layered with a lot of street wisdom because the king, now in chess, and in the drug game, the king is the ultimate piece. Now, Avon Barksdale, the kingpin, he embodies this role. Omar, he positions himself not as a random predator, but as someone that is brave or reckless enough to challenge Avon's empire directly. Now, by saying this, Omar acknowledges the stakes that if you strike at the head of the system being the king, you better succeed because failure means annihilation. And then look in the line, you best not miss. Now, Omar, he's spelling out the law of survival because on the streets, half measures get you killed. A failed attempt at power, vengeance, or defiance, it means that the system will crush you in return. Now, he's not only taunting Avon's crew, but he's reminding them of the gravity of what they're involved in. And this is a distillation of the street code, which is total commitment or don't bother stepping up. Now, Omar's line carries echoes of historical wisdom because look at Niccolo Machiavelli and his book known as The Prince. See, Machiavelli, he warned that if a ruler strikes at his enemies, he must destroy them completely because partial measures invite retaliation. Omar, he embodies this Machiavellian principle in reverse. He knows that he knows that anyone that is attacking Avon, the king of the game, must ensure absolute success. Otherwise, Avon's machine will come back stronger. And then look at the Shakespearean parallels. Now, the phrase recalls Shakespeare's Hamlet and Macbeth, where striking at kings or rulers, it requires absolute certainty, or it leads to ruin. Now, Omar, like the tragic anti hero, he voices timeless wisdom. The attempt to kill or to topple a king is not reversible. And then we look at the African American oral tradition. Now, Omar's style of speech ties into the rhetorical cadence of the black oral tradition, where a simple line becomes proverbial wisdom. It's almost like a hood proverb that resonates beyond the context of Baltimore. And also Omar, what he's doing here in this scene, he is you see now what he's doing in the scene is he's playing mind games as much as he's playing the street game. Now this line it functions as a psychological warfare because he's taunting Avon's crew, letting them know that he isn't intimidated by their power. By positioning himself as someone who can openly challenge the king and live to talk about it, Omar amplifies his legend. Reputation is everything in the drug world. Fear is a weapon. And this quote fuels that reputation. And also this single line, it also encapsulates many of the Wire's themes. Now let's look at chess being as a metaphor. Now in season one, D'Angelo Barksdale, he explains the chess game, the chessboard as a drug game. Avon, he's king. Bodie, Wallace, and Poot, they're all pawns. Stringer, he's the queen, second in command of the Barstow organization. And Omar, by speaking in chess terms, he's directly inserting himself into this metaphorical structure. And then you look at the fragility of the power. Because Avon, he is powerful, but Omar, he exposes the vulnerability of even the king, that all empires are fragile and no one is untouchable. And then you look at the rules of engagement. Now, unlike random violence, Omar, he plays by his own code. And this quote shows that he's aware of the rules of power and consequences, unlike many who fall to victim to impulsive moves. Now, the brilliance of this line is really how it foreshadows, because Omar himself, later on in later seasons, he becomes the target himself, hunted ruthlessly because he dared challenge the king. Now, the line is prophetic because it sets the stage for Omar's long battle with Avon's organization. And later, of course, as in season 4 and of course in season 5, it starts off with him battling off against the Stanfield organization. And it also mirrors the future seasons where the institutions, the police, politics, the press, the schools, they mirror the same logic. When you go after power, you can't afford to miss. So the consequences of half measures, they ripple through every institution in Baltimore. And also the line also has transcended the line has transcended the show because it's quoted a lot in politics and business and sports and everyday life as a maxim about boldness and risk. And it encapsulates the idea that challenging power structures requires precision, courage, and absolute commitment. So this moment cements Omar not just as a stick-up man, but as a street philosopher. Now, unlike Avon, who represents institutional power, or Stringer, who blends business with street, Omar, he embodies that raw individualism with a personal code. And that code basically being that his words, they echo like scripture, street law, and literary poetry all at once. And Omar, he's not simply surviving, he's interpreting the game for everyone that is watching. Omar's quote, "Come at the king, you best not miss," is more than just a taunt. Because what this really is, in actuality, it's a rule of survival in the street game. It's a Machiavellian principle about power and consequences, a psychological tactic to build fear and respect, a foreshadowing device for future conflict, and a universal maxim that transcends the wire itself. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why Omar Little is not just a character, but a philosopher of Baltimore's corners, a man who speaks timeless truths in the language of the streets.